So today we are going to talk about 17 low maintenance perennials to grow in containers. Yes, low fuss, no muss, and they grow great. And number 10, I know I'm going to get pushback on, but it really is low maintenance for me in my garden in containers. So let's get rolling. So hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Pam and I garden in the mountains of Northern California, Zone 8B, and I contend with heavy snows, short growing seasons, and a lot of wild critters. So if I can grow a beautiful garden, so can you. So here is a container that I planted full of sedums. This is a nice, beautiful purple sedum. This is a coral sedum. And this sedum here is a tiny ground cover. It stays very low to the ground. Sedums do great in containers. I used a loose mix, potting mix, meaning I made up my homemade potting mix and I added some horticultural sand to it. You could also use perlite. If you want to buy a cactus mix, that will work, but I just make my own because it's less expensive. Not only sedums, but sempervivums. Now, sempervivums are hardy in my zone. They overwinter outdoors. Echeverias, not so much. But these are alpine plants. When I took a hike up on the mountain, up a trail, we went to the top. It was probably 7,000 feet. The wild sempervivums, hens and chicks, were amazing up there. I didn't realize when it said alpine plants. We live, in fact, the county it's in is Alpine County, because of the elevation of it. But I just wanted to share with you how beautiful succulents like sedums and sempervivums can do in containers. This overwinters just fine. I'm a zone 8. Look up what zones these would be hardy in. And if you had to put it like in a protected area because you're in a much lower zone, that's possible. You just pick it up, move it. This is a new Salvia for me. I just got this yesterday because I could not resist that color. Isn't that just gorgeous, that violet? Now, this is many call autumn sage, but it's Salvia greggii. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. But yeah, this type of Salvia does wonderful in containers. It's low maintenance because, it can dry out. Even my roses, they don't mind drying out slightly. You don't have to keep them waterlogged, and in fact, it's worse if you keep them waterlogged. But this will come back year after year in my garden in containers. And I'll share with you another one I want to take cuttings from. And I'm going to do a video on doing some cuttings here in late August. So stay tuned for that. But Salvia, another beautiful container plant that is low maintenance. So this one right here, this is one of my favorites. It has been here for a couple of years, and it is just the most gorgeous color. And it blooms from late spring all the way until fall. Hummingbird and pollinator magnet. I'm going to take cuttings of this one and propagate it and have some in containers around other parts of the garden. The beauty of containers is you can pull them up and move them to spots that need some color, that may be bare. And this will live in a container for a very long time, very happily. This is a Rudbeckia. This one is Sahara mix. I grew from seed. But these also are a low maintenance plant that would do wonderful in containers. And anyone that has grown in containers know there's a wide variety of low maintenance plants that will do fantastic. They're drought tolerant, love the sun, and will just do beautiful, continue to bloom all the way through summer until first frost with deadheading. So this right back here is one of my heucheras, and it is in a container. Can you see the pot down here? Beautiful terracotta pot. It has been here for years. This gets quite a bit more sun. Now, a lot of these will do great in the shade as well. This one is a beautiful deep purple. And yeah, it does put up flowers, but usually you grow it for the foliage and not necessarily the flowers. This makes a great filler plant if you're doing the thriller, filler, and spiller. And the foliage is what you're growing it for. So you can pair this with something in the yellow family, like the Rudbeckias or the Black-Eyed Susans that are yellow. You could pair it with flowers in the blue family, because look at the color on the leaves. They have a bluish tint. So they'd be a perfect, not contrast, I would say complement of those colors. This container is a perfect example. Now, I have Shasta daisies listed. I don't have any in bloom right now. This is late August. They are done. So an alternative that I wanted to mention to the daisies, because they don't bloom as long as other plants, is even though the cosmos is a annual, they come up so easy from seed. And I just throw the seeds in the container in spring and they fill in. So if you wanted to do the Shasta daisies, have the Shasta daisies, but then also plant the cosmos with them. And then you will continue to get that white flower when the daisies are done and you've chopped them back. Personally, I just go ahead and do the cosmos every year since they are so easy to grow in a container. They're just not perennial. So, and I named this 17 or 15 perennials to grow in containers that are low maintenance. Cosmos are also low maintenance. You do deadhead like you do mini plants, but there's that. Now, geraniums. These geraniums, they're perennial, but in higher zones like 10, 11. But you can take cuttings. I have a whole video on how to overwinter the zonal geraniums. Hardy geraniums, they are more perennial. You can also put them in containers, but I wanted to talk about the zonal geraniums. Take cuttings, propagate them. When I did these summer containers, and I'll link the video in the description box below, these all were from cuttings I took from one plant. I have another container over there that matches this one exactly. Same planting, same groupings. This ivy, which I would not recommend ever putting in the ground. They make a great spiller. This is a variegated ivy. What did I just drop? This is a variegated ivy, which really makes a pretty spiller, tough as nails, overwinters, and is perennial. But you can keep it in control in a container. So this grouping, now this over here, this Evolvulus, which is this magnificent blue, which you probably can't see. I'll get a close-up of it. That is a annual as well. But I have taken cuttings from it. It takes very easily, it roots very easily. And I'm going to try to overwinter some in my greenhouse this winter and see how that works. But it has been a beautiful, almost spiller-like, because it kind of splays out. Over here is where I took the cutting and rooted it, just stuck it in here, and it's growing beautifully. Now I know many may contend with this. Roses, for me, have been low maintenance in containers. I don't do anything more with my roses in containers than I do other plants that I may list here. I water them consistently. If they're out here in the garden, I have drip irrigation to them. They get watered when the other plants get watered. Fertilize containered roses need fertilizer, but there's other plants out in the garden that I fertilize. I use my liquid organic plant food that is earth friendly. And yeah, this is my Olivia Rose Austin rose. It has been in this container for 4 years. It does beautifully. Now, I had it in the ground, pulling a weed while we're talking, but the gophers seem to love this one, and they always wanted to eat it. So I put it in this container so it can be beautiful. It stays smaller in the container, but I'm okay with that. And I don't have anything else with it, planted with it, but many times I will put plants in with my roses. I'll show you one that has some hens and chicks in with it. And so I have several roses in containers, come back every year, do beautifully, no bother. They are no more work than any other plant in a container. Here's another beautiful container plant. This is a Santa Barbara daisy, Ridgeron. And looking here, here's the coral sedum like I showed you in the other container, but look at this, it just takes off. This is easy to propagate, lives through the winter in a container, and just is gorgeous, super easy. Just watering is all this takes up here. So yeah, I have perennial phlox in here that is blooming as well. Super easy to keep in a container. So that's another one. I hadn't really had it on my list, but I guess it should be. Let me prop you up a little bit. You can see it. So yeah, it's getting ready to rebloom. I had cut it back to deadhead, and you see all the new growth. So gorgeous. So here are some sages. Sage is another great one. This is golden sage. Oh, wonderful. And here's a tricolor sage. Let me see if I have it. Is that this one? Yep, tricolor sage. Isn't that beautiful with the purple in it? Both of these have been in this container for over 2 years. I take cuttings for them to propagate. I have this as an edging in the secret cottage garden. Beautiful, low maintenance, very drought tolerant plants. This is a wave petunia that came back from seed. That's not obviously a perennial, but since it came back from seed, it acted like one. But this container has just been gorgeous all summer long, and I love it. So sage, low maintenance plant in a container. Let me, if I can get back there. Back here, you often see me doing videos back here, and I wanted to share with you some hostas. I have beautiful hostas. This is a shady spot that are in containers, and I just put them back here. Look at the colors of that. And they just do beautiful. They bring in a spot of color. You could put them out in the garden in a shady spot. And I see this has gotten some sunspots from maybe the direct sun getting a little too hot on that one. I can move it. It makes it so easy. And this one, I love the edges on this, the beautiful edging. Now these were dug up from the garden out in my shade garden and put into pots, and they have done just gorgeously. So this here, let me get these pillows out of the way, was a selection of gray blue plants that I wanted in a container. This is Artemisia. This is Silver Mound, I do believe it's called, and it stays a little more compact, but it's been doing beautiful in here. Along with, I have some thyme. This is a beautiful thyme. I have several. I have lime thyme. That would be beautiful. That's a beautiful chartreuse green. This one had the white edging. That's why I kind of wanted it in here with the blue plants. And then this is the dichondra. So that is just gorgeous. This is only perennial if I overwinter it, for me, in my greenhouse, but I can get it to overwinter. So that's a beautiful one. I guess I really wanted to feature for mini would be the Artemisia and how beautiful that can be. I have another one in another container that matches, but a beautiful combination with the blue lobelia, which of course is not a perennial, but yeah, a 6-pack of that shouldn't set you back too much. Pretty inexpensive, and it just really goes well with this color scheme. So down here, I know I can't get in it, but I'm just going to share with you, is lavender. This is a beautiful variegated lavender. I keep it in a pot rather than the ground, and it does beautiful in a container because this one is not hardy in my zone, but it is a perennial, and other lavenders are. This lavender is, I can leave this one out in the garden in the winter in the pot if I so desire. Now sometimes terracotta will not hold up in the freeze-thaw cycle, so I would put it either inside my greenhouse to overwinter to protect the pot, or I would put this into a regular container, plastic container. Maybe I get through the garden center that a plant came in for the winter and just leave it outside. But different lavenders, and some are hardy in much lower zones, do fantastic in containers and are very low maintenance. They're drought tolerant. I do, because this is terracotta and it dries out very, very quickly, I do have to water these more often than if they were in plastic pots, but that also protects people from over loving their plants. So there you go. I did want to share this plant. Hopefully there's not too much backlight, but it's my love song rose, and it's in a container. You see the top of it. It is a large container, but it is just beautiful. As I said before, I do not treat this any differently than I do any of my other plants. It's got drip to it. I fertilize it when I fertilize my garden, all of that. So I do deadhead, but I also do my rudbeckias, my daisies, and many other, my cosmos, other plants that need deadheading that are in containers. There's another fantastic one, perennial for containers, hydrangeas. You wouldn't believe how wonderful hydrangeas do in containers. Even though this is out in the garden, this is in my shade garden, these hydrangeas are in containers. I run drip to them. I don't do anything. I do need to deadhead these a little bit so they will rebloom. If they were regular hydrangeas that don't rebloom, I wouldn't bother. I would just leave the fading blooms to enjoy. But yeah, another beautiful perennial that is low maintenance in containers, and that is hydrangeas. Well, I hope you enjoyed all of the container plants that are low maintenance. I do not have high maintenance plants because I don't have the time for it. So many of these are perennial for me. You'd have to look up the zone where you live, your local conditions, and find out from others near you what would really work well for you and your condition. I shared some that were for shady areas like these hostas and the big leaf hydrangeas. Now the bright pink one, that one is a endless summer. It reblooms. It blooms on old wood and new wood, so you get a lot longer bloom time from that than you do from the regular big leaf that blooms only on old wood. So I wanted to make sure I mentioned that as far as that goes. But I wanted to walk around and show you the plants that I'm actually growing in containers, because there's a lot of AI videos out there and information that they claim to have been gardening for several years, but they don't even pronounce the names right. And I'm talking about common names. There's some harder names that I have a difficult time with, and there's some things that I say, most people would say incorrectly. Like I say rhizomes instead of rhizomes, or I say rhizomes instead of rhizomes. See, I don't even know which one. I usually say rhizomes. But that being said, I wanted you to know that I actually do grow these. This is something I've had experience with, and I wanted to show you the proof. So that's why I took you around the gardens to share with you what perennials, low maintenance perennials, I grow in containers and how I do so. Now, as far as watering, to make it simpler, I either have drip or I have what's called plant nannies, which is the terracotta spike that you put into it with a bottle of water, which gives it continuous water, or Oya pots. Now, I've shared with that in a previous video how you can keep them moistened for a long time. This even go on vacation and not worry about your containers dying on you. So you can watch that, and that's one thing that helps keep my containers low maintenance, is either having the drip or those watering apparatus that helps to keep them moist even during the hottest parts of summer. So yeah, I'm looking around the ivy. Oh, I wanted, creeping Jenny. There's several which many people consider invasive ground covers that do very well. They're tough, low maintenance in containers. I have creeping Jenny. I also have creeping Charlie. I know I hear people screaming like, oh, never plant that. And like I showed you the ivy, those also really work well as spillers in containers. And yeah, very, very low maintenance, but they look beautiful. So as long as you don't let them get away from you. I do also have some mint that I keep in containers. It's very low maintenance. I have one that's lemon balm. It's also called Melissa plant. Those also do great in containers. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I didn't forget any, and we'll go from here. There's so many things. Oh, I didn't show you lilies. I have several lilies in pots, and Asiatic, Oriental, all of the above. They do great in pots as well. Well, I hope to see you in my next video where we'll have something fun to share.